Hi, my name is Nick and welcome back to this Microsoft Teams crash course. In this episode we are taking a look at the Teams app and everything that you might need to know about Teams and channels. If you find this episode useful, then you know what to do, and with that said, let's jump on over to Microsoft Teams. Okay, so here I am just inside the Microsoft Teams application. Now from here you'll be able to see that I am inside the Teams section by default. In here on the secondary menu you can see all of the teams that you are currently in and their channels, and then a portal window over here of usually selecting their posts. Now teams are groups of people that are connected in a meaningful way to allow the transfer of information and the storage of files under a team structure. Okay, so a team created in Microsoft Teams will automatically create a team site within SharePoint. And it's this SharePoint site that creates and holds all of the team information and files. Try to think of SharePoint as a network drive without the limitations of a local drive or where you have to be connected via a VPN. It's completely in the cloud and it can store all of your team's files. So what does this mean? This is important for a couple of reasons, right? When you create a team inside Microsoft Teams and it creates the structure in SharePoint, it means that you do not need to rely on a local network or a VPN or anything like that. It's completely remote and is stored in the cloud via Microsoft. So there are some additional functionality as well that you get from files that are stored inside Microsoft Teams via the team structure. And some of these mainly are about them being live documents rather than files where they're stored on your C drive and it's usually a copy of a file. These live files work where multiple people can access them at the same time, edit those files at the same time, and ultimately you do not have to save them. Every keystroke is saved for you. Okay, so very important to understand that when you create a team here, you are creating that team site in SharePoint and all of the files and information is stored on that SharePoint site. Okay, so channels inside a team, okay, are basically like sub-menus or sub-folders of a team. Okay, so you can structure these out in many different ways. So you may have a very marketing team, and then you might have certain campaigns as in channels, etc., or something to that effect. And basically these allow you to segment your team into very clear and identifiable buckets. And then once in SharePoint, what happens is your team is at this team site is like the root directory. And then every channel is a folder inside that root directory. Okay, so when you create a channel, you are creating an additional folder in SharePoint to store files and all that kind of stuff. So very well worth mentioning that now before we talk about how to create additional teams and how to create channels. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll talk about how to create channels now, and then how to make the most out of your teams and channels. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to create a new team for this application, and then we're going to create a couple of additional channels, and then we're going to show you some functionality that you can do with them. Okay, so within the Teams app on the app bar here and this secondary menu at the very bottom, there is something called join or create a team. So we're going to click on that button there, and then we see this new window appear over here in the portal section. So from here there's two options. There's create a team, and then there's join a team. Now we want to create a team in this example, but if you were looking just to join and you already had a code, then you'd go ahead and enter the code here and join the team. But in this example, we're going to create a team and show you how to go and create a team from scratch. I'm going to give that button a click there, and then we can go ahead and click on the from scratch or from a group or an existing team. So if you have a team that you want to use as a template, you can go ahead and do that. If you want to create one from scratch, you obviously have the ability to do so here. There are also a host of additional options here for templates as well. But I'm going to click on from scratch so I can run you through everything that you would normally have to do. Right, once you've done that, there are three options that you have to choose from. Is your new team an organization wide? So basically everyone is automatically added into that team, and you do not have to invite anyone separately. Okay, so if it's completely public and you want everyone within your organization to have access, then this is the way to go. If, however, you want to make a public team, but you want people to have the option whether they choose to join or not, then a public team is the way to go. From here, you can create the team. And you can add members in manually, or you can just let people find the team and join themselves. There's no approval process. They can just join by clicking the join button. Okay, so that was very useful if you don't want to necessarily force everyone into a team, and you want people to basically be able to choose whether they want to be a part of it, and in which case then this public section is the way to go. Now, for the most part, this is where I tend to steer for my teams. I create private teams. Private teams need permissions to join, so I can add people in manually myself, and they have instant access. And if anyone else would like to join the team, they have to request permission to do so. So this is the one that I tend to use the most, but each of these do have a use case, so do select the one that means the most to you. For this example, I am going to go ahead and click on private, as this is the most complicated one to explain. I'm going to give that a click. Right, the next option that you have here in this dialog box is to add some details about the private team. So we're going to give this a name, and I'm going to call this test teams training. Okay, and then I can give it a description if I want, test training. Okay, and then I can click the create button. This will now go ahead and create the team in the background, and in the background you can see this team has just been created, and you can see it's there, test teams training, with a general channel. Now from here I get to add members to the test teams channel. So first of all I'm going to click and add someone from my own organization. So I'm going to find Chris here, and I'm going to add him into the team. I'm going to click the add button. Now I'm not going to add additional members. If I wanted to, I could, but I'm just going to add this single member for now. I'm going to click add on that, and we can see that he is being added into the channel here, or into the team. And you can see he's a member, and if I choose a drop down menu here, I can make him an owner, or I can make him a member. An owner basically has admin rights over the team, so he has the ability to add people, remove people, add tags, remove tags, all that kind of stuff. So if you want an admin, then make them an owner, otherwise leave them as a member status. And then once you're done with all of that, you can just go ahead and click on close. Now we can see that we have a team here called Test Teams Training, and we have a general channel underneath it. Okay, so this has created the team site in SharePoint and has created a folder called General inside of that team. Now, if I click on the ellipses option here, I can do additional things. So we have the ability to hide the team, which you might want to do for certain reasons, but most of the part you're probably not going to utilize that. You can manage the team, you can add channels, we can add members, we can leave the team, we can edit the team, we can get the link to the team, we can manage tags, and we can delete the team. Okay, so those are the options that we have for managing the new team we just created. So what we want to do to start with is go ahead and actually add an additional member. This time I'm going to add a member who is an external user to my organization. So this will be a guest user. So I'm going to go ahead and type in thatofficeGuyuk@gmail.com. Okay, so an email address for this particular user. Now, what Microsoft will do, one of two things. If you're allowed to add external users, then you'll be presented with this option where basically I can now select this email address as a guest user. Once I do that, I'm allowed to add this user into the team. If, however, you're not presented with that and it just says cannot find user, then it means that your administrator hasn't allowed access for external users to be added into the Microsoft Teams. So what you want to do is either request that the admin adds that in the admin center, or if you are the admin, then you want to go over to the admin center and add enable, I should say, the functionality to allow guest users to be added into Teams. But once you have that, and you can see that you can add an email address like this as a guest, you can go ahead and click on Add, and that's now adding this user into the team. Now, I cannot change him from a guest, I cannot make him a member, and I cannot make him an admin. This is specifically a guest. With that done, I can click Close, and we've added an additional member into our team. We can check this and verify it by going to the ellipses here and go into Manage Team. From the Manage Team section, we can drop down this menu for members and guests, and we can see that we have both Chris and that office guy as a guest in the team here. We can also see pending requests of anyone who requested to join. We can see the channels that we've created here or deleted, and we have various different settings as well that we can go through for each of the team, for the entire team here. So if we start from the beginning of this section and we look at the members, we have the ability here to add members, and we can obviously change the levels as well of these. So for example, we can make Chris a owner or an administrator or a member. We can also kick people out of this team very, very easily, as well as adding additional members. Now, the pending requests would appear here, and you could approve or reject them directly in this screen. And from here, we can see channels. So we have the general channels here. We also have our deleted channels if there were any, and we have the ability to add additional channels if we wanted to. Under settings, this is probably the most comprehensive part, you have the ability to give it a team picture. So we can update a little avatar here for our team if we wanted to. We have member permissions, so these are the things that members can do, and we can revoke permissions as needed. So we, for example, allow members to delete and restore channels. Probably don't want to do that, and we'll just deactivate it. Do we want members to create private channels? Probably not. We want to create and update channels? Probably not, and so forth. So we can go through here and activate and deactivate various different elements as needed on the permission side. We also have guest permissions. Again, you have the ability to allow guests to do things as well. App mentions. So what happens when someone does a team mention or a channel mention, and you're allowed to have the options there. The team code, this is where you can create a code that you can send to individuals to join your team using the code button at the bottom of your team section. And it's as simple as just using the generate button here to generate that code. Very simple to do. Now, fun stuff. So if you want GIFs to be sent or not sent, you can turn that off. You can obviously change the filter inappropriate content to moderate to strict. Do you want stickers and memes, custom memes, etc.? And you can toggle those things on and off as well, depending on how strict you want to be. And then you can choose who can manage tags. You can be owners and members, or just owners. Okay, so lots of different functionality you get here inside the team's settings. Now, the analytics lets you see everything that's been going on for your team. So you can see, the summary of the users, the number of apps that are being used, the active users, the engagement, and all of those kind of things as well. And then you have a list of the apps as well that are also available here inside the team. Okay, so very, very useful to get your head around all of those things. Now, back here, when we clicked into the general channel, we can see that this channel has posts, files, and a wiki, and also a little plus icon so we can add additional content here. So, the post section is basically a place where you can start new conversations like chat messages, except this time you're communicating to the entirety of the team rather than just a specific set of people. So, if you wanted to, you can create a whole message here and post it directly into this team, and you can have options to make it a new conversation or an announcement. Everyone can reply, or only moderators can apply, and you can post it into multiple channels if you wanted to as well. So lots of additional functionality that you get compared to just regular chat. But again, here you have the ability to communicate to the entirety of the team, so you do have to be careful and choose which way you would like to communicate and which way is going to be best for you. Here you obviously have the ability to add a subject as well as a conversation, and again you can use the @ symbol to mention specific people, teams, channels, etc. So very, very useful, and I do recommend more people use the post section rather than the chat section, because you do get more functionality from this than you do from individual chats or group chats. Okay, under files, this is directly linked into your SharePoint site. So files that you add into here appear in SharePoint, and SharePoint can obviously be synchronized to your File Explorer, etc. Then there's the team wiki, and the wiki basically is like a how-to guide, like a Wikipedia page of your team. So for this particular channel, you can create a whole wiki all about all the various different things, and you can add new pages, new sections, etc. This is not something that I utilize all that well, but if you are an organization that had a really well structured out set of teams and channels, then a wiki might be a really powerful way to kind of inform people of various different things happening inside your organization. That's the simplest kind of way to approach a channel here. Now the plus icon allows you to add additional tabs, and tabs can be almost anything. You can link in Excel documents, planner documents or plans, Excels, OneNote. You can create lists into your channels, you can link in SharePoint pages. You can also do external websites and Power BI. So there's lots of additional tabs that you can add here, and there's a whole host of applications that you can add as a tab, and you have the search ability here at the top. So for the most part, I tend to lean on website and linking into things that are external. I can also do Power BI, and I use the lists a lot, as well as Excel. So this way that I can, inside a channel, have a link to a very common Excel document directly there, or link into a Power BI report directly inside the channel. So it makes it very quick for users and members to very, very quickly get to the information that they need. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to go through is actually how to go about adding a new channel. In order to do this, we're going to click on the ellipses options for the team that we'd like to add the channel into, and click Add Channel. From here, you get this dialog box appear. This dialog box allows us to create a channel for the test teams training team, and we get to give the channel a name. So I'm going to go with a channel 1, okay, and then I can give it a description, and I can just say this is channel 1. Okay, then I have privacy options here. So by default, this is standard, and it's accessible to everyone who is already a member of the team's the test team's training. Okay, so if anyone who is in this team should have access to this new channel, then you would leave this as standard. If, however, you wanted to create a private channel that's only accessible to a select few members of the people who are in the team, then you'd change this to private. And when you do this, you invite specific members into the private channel. So this is really useful if you have like a general sales team and you want to have a channel for team leaders, in which case you would have a whole dedicated channel just for team leaders rather than a team for team leaders. You kind of, it all depends on how you structure out your teams ultimately, but I like to use a real mix between standard and private. But in this example, I'm going to keep it as standard, and then you have this option here to automatically show this channel in everyone's channel list. I usually tick this, but it does depend on how many channels you have for a team, because there is a limit to the amount that you're allowed to make visible to everyone. Once you're happy with all the settings are set up here, you can go ahead and click Add. That's going to add the channel directly into the test teams training, and we can see that this is now being selected by default. Now these two channels are acting in exactly the same way, except obviously one is a totally different channel to the other. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go and add a third channel. I'm going to go to the ellipses here, I'm going to add channel, and this time I'm going to call this one channel 2, and I'm going to make this one a private channel. Okay, and then I'm going to click next. This time it's going to add the channel, and then I'm going to have to invite members into the channel. So this time I'm going to go with that office guy here, and I'm going to add him into the private team. I can click done, and now we can see that we have 3 channels inside our team, one of which has a little padlock icon next to it, which indicates that this channel is private, and this channel is not visible to anyone else who is not already a member. So only people who are members of this private channel will see this icon and see this channel in the list. Okay, and this can be managed from the ellipses option for that channel. By clicking there, we can go ahead and manage the channel, and then from here we can see we can add additional members, and we can see who's already a member of this private channel. Okay, and again we have various settings here as well. Okay, so and that kind of brings an end to this episode. Hopefully you guys found this useful and informative. If you did, then you know what to do. And with that said, I will catch you guys in the next episode.